The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio. From hot dogs to cool kitties, this is Darkside of the Pooch.
Meow, meow, meow. Dr. Rab, give me to go.
You're making me laugh. I can't do it. You came with the cat. You've never come with the cat before.
Well, I'll tell you why I'm coming with the pussy cat, because Stacy has got the first Mutt Mail. She wants to take a little trivia for Dr. Rab Stewart here on Darkside of the Pooch. What are a group of kittens called?
Oh my gosh. I don't know. I guess I could stall for a minute and look it up. But
They're called a Kindle.
Oh wow.
Did you know that?
I did not know that.
There you have it.
A Kindle of cats.
A Kindle of kittens. There you have it. Now
you learned. I looked it up.
You've learned something. You've learned something here.
Wait. I found something else. Here we go. Wait, I found a group of cats is called a clouder.
A clouder?
A group of cats is called a clouder. Clowder. It can also be called a glaring, particularly if the cats are uncertain of each other. A litter of kittens can also be called a Kindle.
A Kindle, there you go. Boy, glaring does not sound good at all. I would not want a bunch of cats glaring at each other. That's not good at all. No. This is Darkside of the Pooch. Of course, you hear it every Monday right here on Tony Kurre Radio at noon and 8. And, of course, right now you go to Spotify. You can search Tony Kurre Radio, that's Kurre with a K, or Darkside of the Pooch. I can promise you this is the only podcast on Spotify out of millions of podcasts that is called Darkside of the Pooch. Look it up and listen to all of our great shows. We got some fantastic shows. Some killer Mutt Mail we'll get into in just a few minutes here. 208-0301, 208-0301. That's a Rossbridge Animal Hospital, Rossbridge Vet on Twitter, and of course the Rossbridge Animal Hospital on Facebook. Dr. Rab Stewart is the man every single week. Anything interesting happening at the shop?
Pretty much normal stuff for the most part. We treated a dog that has heartworms. That's something we don't do every day, but we've got one here today. So heartworms are spread by mosquitoes.
That primarily a spring summer kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah. That's what I was just about to say. Is that we don't see mosquitoes in the winter, but we don't know when we're going to stop seeing them in the fall, and we don't know when we're going to start seeing them in the spring or summer. So the recommendation from every veterinary organization and the American Heartworm Society and all that stuff is to do year-round prevention. So you're giving them some type of prevention, whether it's a monthly chewable or a monthly tablet. There are some injections out that can last for 6 to 12 months for prevention. So it's really important that you give that no matter what route you give it. Just be sure you're giving it year-round.
See, that's really interesting because I'll always take care of the flea and tick stuff because that directly affects me when I get fleas in the house. But when I think about heartworm, I'll be the first to admit that I do not give them heartworm medicine as often as I probably should. How relevant is it if you don't give your dog heartworm? What are the chances it will get some type of heartworm?
Well, we have kind of a joke around here that if you don't give it, your pet will never get heartworms.
Really?
And if you do give it routinely, but you're either late giving it or you forget a month or two, that's the pet that's going to get it. Like it's just a joke, though. Yeah. It's just it's just a joke. I think that it's more coincidence than anything. But if I told you that, if you do not give your pet heartworm prevention, it's going to get heartworms. It's guaranteed. It's going to happen. That's not true.
Yeah.
It's just not. I'm not going to sit here and say the company line. But if you don't give it, your chances of your pet getting it obviously go up tremendously. And it's a disease that will ultimately, over time, be fatal. You won't know that they have it until it's too late, as far as symptoms go. They're not going to develop symptoms until they just have a very large amount of worms in their heart. And at that time, it's too late. It's even almost too dangerous to treat.
Wow.
Because what happens when you treat is that the worms die, and then the worms form an embolism because they're still in the body. And with really severe cases, you can actually do a surgical procedure where you go in and you remove the worms before you start the injectable form of treatment. So it's a big deal, and it will eventually kill them. So
Wow.
just,
So
get your pets on it.
how's the dog you're treating right now?
It's doing fine. So this is one of the dogs that when we diagnosed it with a test, a blood test, and that's something that we do routinely for every pet yearly, even if they're on heartworm prevention. We test them for heartworms. And so this dog was a rescue dog that the owner got. And once the owner got it, put it on heartworm prevention. But the thing about these heartworm tests is that it only shows you their heartworm status from, the easiest way to explain it is from the most recent 6 months, it does not show you a positive. So this dog ended up being positive way before the owner got it. The owner started on heartworm prevention, and then the positive popped up later because it takes 6 months after disease to develop a positive test. That's probably the best way to explain it.
That's crazy. Dr. Rab Stewart, Darkside the Pooch, a great show. We air every Monday here at noon and 8 on Tony Curre Radio, and now on Spotify. Our partnership with them is fantastic. You can listen to all of our past shows, Darkside the Pooch, search it, or Tony Curre Radio, Tony Curre, Curre with a K. All right, so I got one question. We have a ton of Mutt Mail I want to get into, including some questions specifically for you. Dogs are pretty good about being disciplined. When they do something wrong, you discipline them one way or another. My question to you is, do dogs know when they're doing something wrong?
Mine does, for sure.
I mean, so why do they, the question is, why do they continue to do things wrong? If they know what they're doing is wrong and they're going to catch hell for it, why do they do it?
Hey, man, why don't we do it?
Great point. Great point.
Why do we do it? So, they do it just because I don't know, but my dog, if I can get my dog close, catch him close enough in the act of doing something he knows he's not supposed to do, he's got body language. He cowers down. He kind of slinks close to the floor. He's inching back to his bed or inching to the couch or whatever he's doing. Because he knows that he's been busted for this before. Getting into the garbage is the main thing. Or messing around in the kids' room, getting something out of their closet or, whatever. But they keep doing it for the same reason we do. If we know something's not good for us, we still may want to do it. We don't care. We don't care what the punishment is.
That's true. And sometimes we get away with it too. I do want to give you an update because my dog Rainer, my Australian Shepherd, did it again. He grabbed one of my shoes. And it's weird because he grabs my shoes, but he doesn't really chew them. He chews them a little bit. He doesn't ruin them, but he just chews up, and it's the same shoe. And you know what I found out? The shoe that he keeps grabbing is the one that I wear when I go for a walk, and it's my crap kicking shoe. I don't take a little baggie and pick up dog poop in people's yards, but when Frisco dog poops and it's a little Lincoln log style, I'll kick it with my shoe onto the street. And I think he's grabbing that shoe because he smells dog poop on it and it's comfortable to him. Does that make sense?
I think that's a good theory. I think that you could be onto something there. If it's the same shoe every time, I wouldn't recommend that you sacrifice a pair of your shoes, but it would be an interesting test. You have a placebo shoe.
It's the same shoe. It's my Adidas and it's my right shoe. He never grabs my left. And I'm like, I saw him grab it again in front of me. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he cowers down. And then I realized, that's my poop kicking shoe. I'll bet you that's why he's doing that. So there you have it. We're learning so much. We got some Mutt Mail here for us. Teresa in Cincinnati, Ohio. And I actually know Teresa. This is a really interesting question here. She said, do you think it's important for children to grow up with pets? And she was wondering if there's ever been any studies done about how children do in school, if they're more obedient, if they come from healthier homes when they have healthy pets, dogs and cats.
There are some studies out there that have shown that kids that grow up with dogs tend to be healthier. And I don't know if it's a coincidence, but I think that I can't tell you where the publication came from or when it happened, but I think they've done pretty extensive studies on just the medical, if kids grow up around dogs, they tend to get sick less often.
Really?
So I think that all the other stuff that's there, as far as, behavior, I'm not really sure on that. I don't know, but I would think that if that were the case, if they were healthier, I think it's probably because they're being exposed to more things in their immune system just may be smarter, because the more things that your immune system is exposed to, the more that it's seen, the cells of the immune system will block disease better.
Yeah.
So either there's something on the dog or in the dog, or the dog is bringing something in from outside or wherever it goes. But that's what the studies show.
Aaron in Birmingham for Dr. Rab Stewart here at the Rossbridge Animal Hospital, 208-0301. This is Darkside the Pooch. You can hear it every Monday. It's Darkside the Pooch Mondays here on Tony Curry Radio at noon and 8. Of course, you can also hear us on Spotify. Search Tony Curry Radio or Darkside the Pooch. He knows that dogs pant. That's their way of sweating, but he also heard that dogs sweat through their paws. True or false?
Yeah, that's true for sure.
Really?
Yeah. If you get them on a surface, like for instance, in our building, we have a stainless steel tables, because dogs pee and poop on the table and they lick the table. And so, you try to keep things, the surface that's clean. And you'll put a dog on there, and it's not like that they've been walking out in the rain or anything. And when you pick them up, you can see the imprints of the moisture from their paws. So they do have some evaporative cooling with their paws. And dogs with big ears, they also have some evaporative cooling with their ears and the blood vessels, the way that they exchange heat through that. But kind of like bunnies do that too. But one interesting thing is, since they do have that evaporative cooling from their feet, and dogs that come in and they're hyperthermic, so they're experiencing heat stroke, one thing that we do is we spray alcohol on the bottom of their feet, because that will evaporate and it'll kind of help cool them off. We do a lot of other things too, but that's just one of the things that we do.
Ice on the feet, no? Or just some type of, like a rubbing alcohol you're talking about?
Yeah, just alcohol. When a dog is too hot, you want to avoid putting ice on them or putting them in cold water, because that causes vasoconstriction. So the vessels they get smaller, they get tighter, they constrict, and that can further exacerbate or make worse the heat stroke.
Well, that's
so. Yeah, it's weird how it works. It's really counterintuitive, I guess. But you do want to get them wet, but you want to use kind of like room temperature water. You don't want to use cold water. And then you can put fans on them. You don't want to direct the fans right at them, but just kind of get that airflow going. And then once they reach a certain temperature, even though they're still higher than normal, a lot of the things that we do to bring their temperature down will actually stop them. Because in dogs, if you continue to cool them off, like if they get into a normal temperature, if you continue to cool them off all the way to a normal temp, then they can continue to get cold, and then it'll get lower than normal. So
wow.
we stop those measures when they get to usually when they get to like 103.5 degrees is when you stop your cooling measures when they get too hot.
So so we're 98.6 and dogs are 103.5?
Yeah, normal temperature for a dog is around, well, and it depends, puppies are a little bit different, so we'll kind of exclude them, but they have different temperatures with their age. Really young puppies tend to have a lower temperature, and then as they get older, they get a higher temperature. But the high end of normal for a dog is about 102.5. So 102.5 is normal.
So how does that play into, because I've heard this a lot of times, in the summertime, we just think that they got shoes on with their pads in their feet when the ground is really, really hot. How cognitive should we be of the fact that our dogs are running on a hot surface when that's where they sweat from?
Oh, well, I mean, you have to be aware of it, because if they do spend a lot of time on concrete when it's really hot, then they can burn their pads. And if their pads get wet, if you're at the lake or the beach or whatever, or just in your backyard, kids playing the sprinkler or whatever, when their paws get soft, their paw pads get soft, they're more sensitive to heat. So kind of have to look into that too.
Gotcha. Liz in Fort Payne, that's a great question. What is Dr. Rab's favorite dog from a TV show or movie?
Oh man. So the first thing that popped into my head was the Beast from The Sandlot. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. I love that.
I used to watch that movie. I mean, it was on loop at my house when I was a kid with VHS, because I'm getting old.
Yeah.
But I would watch that movie several times a week, and the Beast just fascinated me. They use the vacuum to try to get the ball out of James Earl Jones's backyard, and the dog would jump up and bend the thing, and a kid my friends, we're all getting close to 40, but we all have a love for that movie, and we still quote it. I mean, the movie's got to be.
It's a great movie.
Gosh, 25 years old.
Yeah.
Maybe not 20. It's got to be 20, 25 years old, and we still quote it all the time.
All right, so do you watch when there's a new movie out with Channing Tatum that opens up? I think this past week. It's called Dog. It doesn't look very good because normally whenever you make a movie all about an animal, I used to watch was The Incredible Journey that I thought was a great movie with the two dogs and the cat. But whenever you usually make a dog movie, and it's like Turner and Hooch, it's a little different, but it's just called Dog. I know it's not going to be particularly good. I don't know if it's good or not. But are those movies that fascinate you? Do you like to go see dog movies, or you're like whatever?
I mean, sometimes I don't really, I got 3 younger kids. And so usually we'll watch whatever they watch until it's 10 o'clock. And then I get 30 minutes and I'm trying to squeeze in a basketball game or a football game or something, so I'm really at the mercy of my kids right now. But, I think that I'm not particular, if it's going to be good, if it's got an animal in it, I'm going to go. Yeah. But I'm not going to go just because it has an animal in it.
I got you. All right. This is Darkside the Pooch. Of course, you can hear it on Spotify, our partnership there, Darkside the Pooch, Tony Kurre Radio. Search Tony Kurre with a K. Dr. Rab Stewart from the Rossbridge Animal Hospital, 208-0301 at Rossbridge Vet, or the Rossbridge Animal Hospital on Facebook. Chauncey in Hueytown wants to know, this is a common question, I don't know if you have an answer for it, but why does your dog always seem to want to bother you when you get on your cell phone? It's unmistakable. I mean, the minute you pick up the phone, the dog comes over to you, and it could be in a sound sleep. And the minute your phone rings or you pick up your phone, it comes over to you. Why is that, you think?
It probably thinks you're talking to it.
You think?
Especially if it's a happy voice. You know, most people answer the phone. I mean, unless it's your, I don't know. I don't want to get into it, but usually it's like a happy voice when you answer the phone. So maybe the dog is just into it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah. You want to talk to me? I'm sure it's about me. You're using a happy voice. So they get up and come to you.
I think you may be onto something. Tim in Sonoma, California wants to know what breed makes the best companion for a single guy. Sounds like a guy wanting to take his pooch in the park to pick up women is what this sounds like to me. What's a good breed for something like that? And let's, because all puppies are precious. Women will always love puppies. Let's go with a dog maybe picking up a rescue. It's always 3 or 4 years old. It's already outgrown its cuteness. What's a good breed to pick up women?
Well, you want to stay away from big aggressive dogs. That's what you want to stay away from. But at the same time, I think that you need to stay away from the toy breeds. But I mean, I have a male mind, so I may be wrong on this. We might need to get a female vet's opinion on this. But I would think that if you go too small, then that may be a turnoff.
Yeah, I hear you.
Because I think we have to find a really good balance between a masculine dog, but we can't be too aggressive. So I think for this answer, I'm gonna go golden retriever.
I think everyone loves golden retrievers too.
I think that's a pretty solid answer. I think that when they're puppies, I know we're excluding puppies, but they're super cute puppies.
Yeah, and
they're super sweet when they get to be adults. So that's my answer.
Now I had a wire fox terrier that was very regal looking. It was mid-sized. It was well trimmed. It was a super cool dog that worked really good with women, and schnauzers seemed to work really well.
Yeah, I think schnauzers could be good because, most of them are maybe in the 20-pound range.
Yes.
That's a great weight range, I think, to pick up, females, the opposite sex. You want to stay away from those aggressive dogs. So, probably no German Shepherds, no Dobermans, no Rottweilers. I'm sure there are tons of women out there that love those breeds.
Yeah.
And there are tons of women out there that love, giant Mastiffs and Great Danes and all that stuff. So this is, a generalization because we don't, that's just, I think that the golden retriever across the board, you can't go wrong.
I think you're spot on. And James Michael Keats, our director of personnel, said he looks like a golden retriever. He's got the exactly. Pam in Jackson, Mississippi. This is another great question. Does Dr. Rab, she's moving to town, by the way. Does Dr. Rab see any other animals besides dogs and cats? Question number one. And second of all, she would love to hear your giraffe story again.
Oh yeah, sure. So we do see the occasional exotic pet. Usually it's for nail trims and things like that. So we've seen guinea pigs and we've seen hedgehogs.
You've seen hedgehogs?
We've seen a hedgehog here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, little, kind of pocket pets we see. We've never seen a reptile and we've never seen any birds. We'll see the occasional kind of exotic pocket pet.
Would you see a bird if someone brought one in, or is that something, is there certain animal breeds you will not see?
That's just really not our specialty. I'll be honest with you. I don't know a ton about them.
Yeah.
And I've got people that I can refer them to, but as far as reptiles and birds, we just don't do a lot of it. But we've got people that we can send them to.
Okay. And she wants to hear your giraffe story again. You've told it a couple of times and I love the story too. What is it, man?
Yeah. So I was in Arizona doing an internship right out of vet school. And we typically just did horses. That's all we did for a year. And so there was a guy that lived, it was outside of Phoenix, close to Gilbert, Arizona. And I think the reason that we kind of got in with this guy is because he had a lot of zebras. And so we started seeing his zebras. But he also had camels and he had some giraffes. And I mean, full grown giraffes. And he had these crazy enclosures. It was almost like anybody out there who's, if you've been into a boarding stable for horses. So he had they looked like little stalls for horses, not little, but they were like giant horse stalls for these giraffe.
Wow.
And so he had a male and a female, and the female had a baby. And when you have animals like, horses and cows and, some of these zoo animals, it's really important to have them looked at right away when they're born. So, when this thing was born, we went out and we looked at it, and just to be sure that, its mentation was good, meaning it didn't have any problems when it was born, it got enough oxygen. It's able to do the things that it's supposed to be doing from birth. And we got there and checked it out. And when they come out, they're immediately 6 feet tall. I mean, it was as tall as
Wow.
I was. And we went out there and we fed it. We checked on it. All its vitals were good. And it was a cool experience.
That is a really cool story, and I love the opportunity to. And I say this in truthfulness: the most amazing tongue I've ever seen in an animal. The big purple 3-foot tongue that a giraffe have is just absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's really cool. And there was this. You could probably find this on any giraffe, but I thought this was really cool because really I'd never been that close to one before, and so the person I worked for pointed this out. But this giraffe on its neck had like a perfect heart for one of its,
Wow.
orange spots.
Yeah.
It was so cute.
That is super cool. All right,
cool.
James Michael Keats is sitting here. He's got a question for Dr. Rab Stewart here on Darkside of the Pooch. Go. What you got here? What you on? Number one? Go ahead. Three. Go ahead. Four. Go ahead.
There it is. All right. So you guys were talking about guys with little dogs, like little toy dogs, and it made me think of a friend of mine. He has 3 little dogs. One in particular is what I want to ask you about. This little Chihuahua wants you to interact with it. Like say, put. He wants to be in your lap, but you have to pick him up because he's so small. I need to know why when you put him down, he gets super aggressive. He tries to bite. Like everything is about biting or shaking for Chihuahuas, and I wonder, are they high strung? Like what?
Well, that's usually the opposite of what happens. So there's a lot of dogs that when you go to pick them up, they'll bite you because they're kind of afraid. So in our practice, a lot of times if we know that that's going to be the case, we'll have the owner hand the dog to us because the dog is totally fine as long as you don't pick them up off of something. So this is kind of the opposite of that. So I'm not really sure what to make of it, other than it either doesn't want you to sit it down, or the dog sees it as a way to play. Because it's not like it's fearful. It's not like it's fearful, because you're leaving it alone. So it's not doing it out of fear. It's either doing it because it doesn't want you to sit it down, or it sees it as a way to play with you.
Well, when I go over to my friend's house and I need to get it off of my lap to use the bathroom, I'm afraid to use the bathroom at my friend's house because it's trying to bite my hand off. Anyway, well, thanks for the answer, buddy. Dr. Rab. I appreciate that.
Diaper up.
There you go. No doubt. Our final Mutt Mail here on Darkside of the Pooch with Dr. Rab Stewart of the Rossbridge Animal Hospital, Rossbridge Vet on Twitter, and the Rossbridge Animal Hospital on Facebook. And again, their number is 205-208-0301. If you're listening, of course, you can hear us all over the world, but you're moving to the Birmingham area. This is the place to go. He's going to take care of it. Doc in Birmingham wants to know, what's the strangest companion you've ever seen for a dog? Another animal, another pet. I've got this Australian Shepherd, and it will eat anything. It'll chase cats, gerbils, anything. And I would love, but I've seen great pictures. I've seen dogs cuddle up with birds. I've seen them cuddle up with reptiles. What's the strangest companion you've seen?
I mean, probably the strangest companion is like an inanimate object.
Yeah.
That's probably not his question. But for some reason, dogs can imprint on like certain things, like baby dolls and things like that. But I mean, I've known people that have dogs that get along with all kind of pets, like basically any pet you can think of, snakes, lizards. I mean, I've got somebody that has, I know somebody that's got a lizard, and the lizard and the dog get along great. I mean, the lizard will crawl all over the dog, and the dog, I mean, it doesn't mind it, doesn't try to hurt it, lets the lizard do its thing. So I mean, that's pretty strange, a lizard crawl on the dog. So I'd probably go with that one.
If you typically have a predatory type of dog, like an Australian Shepherd that will just chase anything, I mean, just for sport, if you teach it early in its life, will it come to relax and not, like, if I put a gerbil on my dog, it's gonna be eaten. But if I had gotten it at an early age, does that DNA or that genetics of that dog come out and it gets more comfortable, or will it eventually eat it anyway?
I think that if you put them together early, then that's going to help socialize the dog to whatever other animal it is. Now, that's definitely not foolproof, because puppies are really rough. Puppies don't really, they don't know when to stop messing with something, or they're going to kill it, but that socialization window for puppies, it's about like the 9 to 12 or 16 weeks. So during that time, you want to introduce them to as much stuff as you can, because that's when they learn people are okay or people are bad, and other animals are good or other animals are bad. That's really when they learn. So that's the window you want to introduce them, but you still got to do it cautiously.
Another stellar show, Dr. Rab. Thank you, brother. We'll catch up next week, man. We greatly appreciate you.
Oh, man. Love the time.
Thank you, brother. We'll talk to you next week.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Curry Radio.